90.9 The Vine, in conjunction with AreaSports.net, proudly presents The Sports Couch. The Sports Couch is the area's only locally produced weekly sports show that is live on FM radio and also streamed live on both of our websites at AreaSports.net and WVYN.org. Who will be on the couch this morning? Let's find out. The Sports Couch is on the air right now. Well, good morning, sports fans. Yes, time for another new season of the Sports Couch. I'm Randy Olson, live in studio with Danny Anselment. Danny, it's been a long time.
Yeah, we've had quite a break here over the summer, but business is getting ready to pick up.
It sure is. It's good to be back and good to see you this morning, and going to be good to talk about some area football teams this morning because it all kicks off next weekend, doesn't it?
Yep. High school football season will be kicking off in Illinois next week, and there'll be a lot of games around the area, and be interesting to see who's got what this season.
That's exactly right. And, and there's a lot of teams trying to do practice this morning, no doubt. But with the weather the way it is this morning, that's going to put a damper on things, literally.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of things have got shut down this morning because of lightning and rain, and some locations have even had some pretty bad hail this morning. So,
yeah.
Be interesting to see.
Well, we got about 6 different coaches that we're going to have on the show with us this morning to preview 6 area high school football teams, and no doubt we'll talk about the Cardinals and the Cubs before we get to 10 o'clock this morning. So a lot to discuss this morning here on week number 1 of the Sports Couch for this new high school sports season. Danny, why don't you run through the list of the games that we have coming up on week number 1, and I'll get our first coach on the line, all right?
Alrighty, from the Black Diamond Conference, we're going to start off with some great games right off the bat. Looks like Chester's going to be at Eldorado. Eldorado will be under a new head coach down there. Fairfield's going to travel down to Johnston City, and those two teams are definitely a couple of teams that will be at the top of the heap. You got Hamilton County traveling to Edwards County. That ought to be a very competitive game. Cesar Valera at Carmi and Vienna at Christopher. From the Little Illini, Red Hill will be at Robinson. Casey Westfield's going to be at Paris. Flora will be at Marshall. And Lawrenceville will travel to Albany. In the South Central Conference, you got Carlinville at Hillsboro, Litchfield at Stanton, Pana at Greenville, Piazza Southwest at Roxana, and Vandalia at Gillespie. In non-conference games, you'll have AJ at West Frankfort, Bethalto at Alton, Bunker Hill at Trenton, Carbondale at Murfreesboro, Carterville at Benton, Centralia at Salem, DuQuoin at Massac County, Effingham at Breeze Mater Dei. Harrisburg will travel up to Mount Carmel to kick off that game they always play at the beginning of the season. Jerseyville at Granite City, Marion at Muscuda, Mount Vernon at Taylorville, Nashville at Carlisle, Redbud will travel to Pinckneyville, and Sparta will take on Freeburg.
Those are the matchups in week number 1. And, of course, graduation always, makes some big changes to the football programs. And it comes down a lot of times to, what do you got coming back? What do you still have left in that closet, so to speak, from last year? And then build upon that with your younger guys. And that's what we'll be finding out here. So trying to connect here with Coach Townsend, and he just sent me a message to try to call him back. I think he was probably on with another show someplace, so let me try to dial him up again, Danny. But
okay.
What's the most intriguing matches for you looking at that schedule in week 1?
Well, when I look at the Black Diamond Conference, you got Chester going to Eldorado. Eldorado's got a lot of returning key players, but they've got a new coach, so it'll be interesting to see if they can continue the success they were having down there. And then you got the Fairfield Mules going to Johnston City. You got Coach Townsend, Coach Mings going at each other there. Be interesting to see how those two teams shape up here. And Cesar at Carmi. Carmi's always got a good team. But that Hamilton County, Edwards County team that should be a pretty good matchup between those two teams right there. So the Black Diamond in week 1 looks pretty competitive all the way around.
Yeah, you mentioned one of the more intriguing matchups in week 1 will be that game between Fairfield and Johnston City. That'll be played at Johnston City, and the head coach of the Fairfield Mules joins us right now. That's Justin Townsend. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Good morning, guys.
It's football season once again, and how's the preseason workouts been going for you and the Mules?
We've had a great 2 weeks of practice, so weather's cooperated, and Hadn't been too hot, but just enough, I think, for us to get acclimated. And we were able to go a week and a half and 2-a-days, and just kind of got into the singles Thursday. So, we're kind of anxious to get into a game week and start that preparation, because I think we've kind of got to that point where we're tired of hitting each other and we're ready to go play somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I guess last night you had Meet the Mules night. Did you do some scrimmaging last night, too, during that event?
Yeah, we did a lot of different things. We did some 7-on-7. We did some 1-on-1 drills with the linemen. We had this, we put out 15 yards, and it's basically 5 yards apart, and we divide into teams, and we have 2 blockers, 2 defensive players, and a ball carrier, and we let the kids compete in that a little bit. We do that, which allows us, a lot of our older, stronger players to go against each other, kind of similar to a half-line type situation, so we think that's good for good reps. And then we did scrimmage, freshman JV, offense, ran some defense, and then our varsity offense and defense. Probably ran, 10, 12, 15 plays, give or take, just to get them on film and kind of show the fans what we got going into the season.
Well, as you look at the Black Diamond Conference this year, how you size it up, looking at it from top to bottom?
I've said it several times, in all the previews that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. I think there's some elite level athletes, first of all. Valdonia, Johnston City is pretty special. Traxler, Atterbury are pretty special down in Eldorado. I feel like we have some kids. Hefner and Lewis are obviously kids people talk about, but I think we have some others as well. I just think there's some high-level athletes, first of all. That's something that maybe is a little different about our conference this year. Not that we haven't had great athletes, but maybe guys that have potential to play at the next level. I think Eldorado, with just the way they've had their last couple of years here and the guys they got coming back, should be in the mix. I think we'll be in the mix. I feel that way. I think Carmi is going to surprise some people. They're blessed with a lot of returners up front, and I'm a big believer in strength up front, obviously. So I think that's going to be big for them. I think Fesser's going to surprise some people as well, along with Johnston City. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Like there's been tiers of the conference, top tier, middle tier, lower tier. I don't know that you'll have much of that this year, but it should be interesting. Definitely. I think I heard you guys talking as you're coming in, but I think week 1 you're going to find out a lot about some teams right off the bat. So we'll see.
Yeah, Coach, I'm like you. I think the conference has got some definitely elite players. The Traxler boy down at Eldorado, he's just kind of a man-child. I definitely look for him to go to some kind of the next level. But there's some great kids throughout the conference that could really make an impact on this division this year.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we gave you some big names, but, I think there's several of these teams that I talked about that, I know for us, I think we had 5 or 6 all-conference kids coming back. And, I think there's some other teams in the same type of situation. So, just because they're not, Division I caliber players doesn't mean that they're going to have huge, they're going to definitely have huge impacts on games and the way the conference season goes. And then, you always, in 2A and 3A football, you always have to talk about the injury bug, unfortunately. I think, with us, one of our strengths this year, I feel, is our depth. I don't know that an injury here or there is going to make or break us, but there's definitely, I think, teams in our conference that see an injury here or two, and then they start to get pretty thin.
Yeah. What kind of numbers do the Mules have out this season?
We're right at 58 total in the program. Pretty excited about that. We have 18 freshmen, which is, from what I'm kind of hearing, some of the best numbers around for a freshman team. We actually had several we've had, I think, 2 or 3 freshman games canceled just because teams are kind of going the fresh off route, and that could be a number of reasons, where they don't have enough freshmen or they're playing a lot of sophomores up on varsity. So then they're going to play a lot more freshmen.
Well, I hear the numbers out of Hamilton County, and I think they've got like 34 out for football. They've got 10 freshmen, so they're one of the teams that's not going to have the freshmen.
Well, and we take the approach. We got 18 freshmen, 12 sophomores. Fortunately, one of those sophomores is already out for the year, and then another one is going to be starting varsity. So a lot of our freshmen are going to see a lot of JV football this year, and we just take the approach that they're going to get better. Yeah, I mean, they may take their a little bit on Monday night, but in the long run, I think it's going to be good for the level of competition. But kind of getting on to our varsity, I mentioned sophomores. Junior class, we've lost a few. We're still around 10. And then and then pretty big senior class this year. We're at 16 seniors, and all of them are going to be contributors this year in one shape or form, and a lot of them are returning starters, returning all-conference kids, and I have several in the mix that have started varsity football since they were sophomores. So, I'm excited about the experience level we got returning. These kids have played in big games. They know what it means to be conference champs. They know what it means to be close, win the playoff games, but not quite being able to do it. So, that's definitely something that they're hungry for this season.
Well, when you got that kind of experience coming back, Coach, it allows you to build on things you've done the previous season. You don't have to introduce so many things, and should be a strength for your club this year.
Yeah, we aren't doing a lot different schematically. We feel like our kids have gotten comfortable doing what we're doing, but at the same time, we felt for us to be competitive outside of the Black Diamond, and what I mean by that is in the playoffs, we're going to have to be able to do some different things. So, that's kind of what we've really been concentrating on these last maintaining the things that we always do. We just felt like we needed to maybe, especially offensively, be able to open up a little bit and do some things through there with the football, and maybe stretch the field, and also use a little bit more of the perimeter running game instead of so much off tackle and up the middle. We just wanted to be versatile. If teams try to take away something for us, we want to have something else to go to.
Well, Coach, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think it's been pretty evident. There's been some teams with some great records coming out of the Black Diamond Conference, and it seems like we get to the first round of the playoffs, and instantly the Black Diamond gets to go home because just not been able to finish games and get the job done. So I'm glad to see you be proactive on that.
Yeah, and it's not that we have not been competitive in the playoffs. And I think that's a misconception. I know Fairfield, we've been competitive. We just, it's been hard for us to come up with those wins. I know it's always a topic of discussion, but it is what it is. And until, obviously Eldorado got over the hump, but until we can beat somebody in non-conference and playoffs, people are going to continue to talk about it. So it comes back on us and getting the job done.
Yeah, there's been some great games and some great opportunities, but just not been able to get over the hump. And like you say, sometimes that gets to be a hurdle also, because that adds a little pressure to it, because everybody wants to be the team that can get through that. So, somebody's going to make a big run one of these days.
Yeah, and it's not, I think you ask any coach in the conference, and they would say that they're pulling for everybody, when it comes to playoff time. But it's going to happen. I'm very confident in that. Could be this year, who knows? And so much of it's matchups. So much of it's clicking at the right time. There's just a lot of other factors that go into it. It's just the way it is.
We are visiting with Coach Justin Townsend of the Fairfield Mules, and one more quick question, Justin, before we let you go. You're going to be tested right away here in Week 1 as you travel down to Johnston City. What concerns you the most about the Indians heading into Week 1?
Number one, Luca Galdoni concerns me. First of all, I mean, he's a tremendous athlete. They're going to play him at quarterback, I'm assuming. So, I mean, he's every play. We know where the ball is. We know where he's at. He has the ability to make the play. So that's concerning. I know he's got a couple of nice complementary players to go with him. The Snead kids, the kids have started for a while. A couple of nice linemen up front, back. Thankfully, they are always prepared for us as much as anybody. Coach Mings and his staff do a great job. So, we're going to have to be really fun. That's the thing. We've always played Johnston City later in the year. We've always seen some film on them. Week 1 is the great unknown. You can kind of have an idea what they might do, and I'm sure they're probably saying the same thing, but you don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always some surprise element in that Week 1 that you weren't anticipating, and a lot of it goes back to adjusting and how quick your guys can adjust on the fly. But so much of Week 1 too is penalties, turnovers. I can't remember if I mentioned the kicking game or not, but Townsend was an advantage in that on us.
Mm-hmm.
They get to the line, in Week 1 sometimes.
Yeah.
Those are the things that concern me with them. Field position game is going to be huge. So, offensively, it's for us. We'd love to score every drive. That's not realistic. We probably won't. So, can we get enough first downs to flip field position? And maybe pin them deep after they've already done that. There was kickoff, be a kickoff, or be a punt. So, those are the things that I'm thinking about. And, based on our film last night, for me, we got some things we need to clean up. It was really good. But that's a problem. We just, we got a few missteps, a few missed blocking assignments. Not every play is about 1 to 5 plays, but unfortunately that 1 every 5 is usually a negative play or something. So for us, it's accounting for number 1 and then also worrying about ourselves and fine-tuning some things.
Sure. Well, Coach, we appreciate your time this morning on the Sports Couch, and we look forward to visiting with you throughout the season, and best of luck to your Mules in Week 1 as you make that trip down to Johnston City, okay?
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, have a good weekend. Bye-bye. It's Justin Townsend, head coach of the Fairfield Mules, and, there is a great unknown in Week number 1, Danny, like you said, and maybe sometimes it's better to play a team like Johnston City in Week 1 when you don't know for sure what's going on. I mean, it works both ways, and Coach Mings, who we'll visit with here in just a moment, thinking the same thing maybe about the Fairfield Mules, not knowing for sure.
Yeah, and one of the biggest unknown is some kids grow up and mature over the summer, and they change, and there's going to be a surprise or an impact player step forward in Week 1 that, hey, they're going to walk off the field saying, where did that kid come from?
We didn't know about him.
Yeah,
That's exactly
and,
right.
I think that's probably some of the biggest unknown right there is just getting some personnel that steps up that you're not expecting.
Mm-hmm. So we heard the Fairfield perspective about that matchup in Week 1, and we will hear the perspective from Johnston City as we return with a Sports Couch. Coach Dan Mings joins us next. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more in just a moment.
It's the local sports talk show that everyone is talking about. It's the Sports Couch on 90.9 The Vine and AreaSports.net.
Nothing makes a tough outdoor job easy like the legendary power and performance of Yanmar compact tractors. Hi, I'm Jerome from Main Street Shop Fairfield, and I'm here to talk about the legendary reliability of Yanmar equipment. A particular note is the superb Yanmar diesel engine. Over 100 years of development is built into that power plant, smooth and dependable. Directional change is made simple using the twin pedal hydrostat. Push one pedal to go forward and the other one for reverse. Simple. Just stop in Main Street Shop Fairfield for a test ride, and we'll give you a free hat just for trying one.
Are you going out of town for a vacation or a weekend getaway? What are you going to do with your dog? That's easy. There's Jagger's Doggy Daycare in Mt Vernon. Jagger's Doggy Daycare is your one-stop shop for overnight dog boarding, doggy daycare, as well as dog grooming and obedience dog training. It's your dog's home away from home, and they will thrive, and they'll get one-on-one attention by a great staff. More information is available on the web at jaggersdoggydaycare.com. Jagger's Doggy Daycare, 414 Main Street in Mt Vernon. Choosing a construction company is a big decision because many companies come and go. That's why Greenwald & Sons Construction is a name you can trust. With over 40 years of experience, Greenwald & Sons Construction in Wayne City and Mt Vernon specialize in residential and commercial construction, as well as remodeling. They'll be happy to talk to you about a church addition, business expansion, or new home construction. Greenwald & Sons Construction, the experts you can depend upon. Their number is 895-2044.
And welcome back to the Sports Couch here live on a Saturday morning on 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine Radio, and also streaming live worldwide on both of our websites. Live audio streaming at WVYN.org and live video streaming at AreaSports.net. I'm Randy Olson live in studio along with Danny Anselment. Trying to make connections here with Coach Dan Mings of the Johnston City Indians. I know that they were going to try to practice this morning. Don't know if it rained down there as heavy as it did here, Danny, but boy, if it did, it's we've had some rain this morning.
Oh yeah, there's been some rain definitely around in spots here this morning. So anyway, I'm sure certain areas are probably getting to. I'd say the farther south you go, the better chance they have of practicing. So they're probably out on the field.
Yeah, they may be trying to do something, and we'll try to again connect with Coach Mings here in just a moment. But that is one of the really more intriguing matchups in week number one for sure, that Fairfield-Johnston City game. But, there's also that unknown with Hamilton County and Edwards County because, Jeff Rush returns to Hamilton County to take over the Foxes. He was there for a number of years prior to and had some success along the way. And you wonder what kind of a system that he will implement this year at Hamilton County. Will he go back to that spread type of offense where they used to throw the ball a lot, or will he employ an entirely new type of system depending upon the type of players that he has out there?
Well, when we interviewed Jeff, we talked about a lot of things and his interest in coming back, and he said he thought he had grown and learned a lot and reevaluated some things and realized he was going to do some things different and have to make some adjustments due to some kids and the way things were played today and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what the Foxes bring. One of the biggest things I see for the Foxes is they got about 34 kids out for football. Mm-hmm. And you get to play in these teams that's got 58 and 60 kids. They just wear you down so bad that by the end of the game, they've subbed and wore and beat and banged on you enough that you get beat down pretty bad because you got a lot of guys going both ways and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think you'll see that with some of the teams, I'd say Edwards County, the Vianas, the Christophers, the Hamilton County. I think Cesar's got some pretty good numbers out this year. Mm-hmm. Carmi, Eldorado, Johnston City, they always have a lot of kids. You just heard Coach Townsend say they got 58 at Fairfield.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So, that all makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. The Foxes do have 11 seniors, so they got some pretty good numbers on their returning group of players. So, be interesting to see. But that should be a good game up there at Edwards County between those two teams. Edwards County is going to be a good addition to this Black Diamond Conference. They had a lot of success in basketball. I think they're just a great fit for a lot of reasons.
Well, and, last year I think Edwards County won, 4 games last year, I believe. So they actually, did start to win some games, and so they made an impact. And, look for them to maybe do more of that same this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things go at Eldorado. They've got some very, very key players back, but Brandon Hampton's moved off to Texas, and they've got a new coach, and you never know. A lot of those kids were very close to Brandon Hampton, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond. They're definitely one of the top favorites in the conference.
And we will visit with Coach Joe Clark, the new head coach of the El Dorado Eagles, later on the show. We'll be visiting with him. And also we're going to talk with Brian Tackitt from the Flora Wolves. We'll catch up with Jeff Rush of the Hamilton County Foxes, and we'll also talk to Mark Goodheart from the Mount Vernon Rams. The Rams will finally be playing football at the new school, on the new football field. They finally got the situation corrected on the crown of that new football field, because they initially, when they constructed it, they put it in wrong, and then they also didn't put in irrigation properly, so there could be water out there to water the field. But that's all been taken care of now, thankfully, and so now they will play football at the new school this year. So it'll be the first time for that. So we'll talk to Coach Goodheart about that and how things are going, preseason with the Rams so far this year.
Well, you take the Mount Vernon Rams, there's another team. Their numbers have been down some compared to the other schools in their conferences, and I'm sure it's been playing on the Mount Vernon Rams. It doesn't matter whether you're playing at a school of 385 or whether you're playing at a school of 1,785. You still got to have numbers of kids to come out, and when you don't, it has a negative impact on your program.
Oh, it really does. And you talk about those numbers with Fairfield, with Coach Townsend having 58 players overall, 16 of them being seniors.
Well, but you also heard him say he had like 15 or 16 freshmen. So he gets those kids in his program and gets them introduced. And like he said, they may take some lumps on Monday night, but the valuable experience they gain, you got to look at the end of the picture, not the beginning of the picture.
Yeah.
Hamilton County's got a good group of sophomores. They won that Black Diamond Junior Football League. So, there's some big expectations out of that group of kids. But you just never know anymore. Are they going to stay intact? Are some of them going to go by the wayside? Are they not going to come out and play for some reason? It's high school athletics is a whole different regime than when me and you played.
Oh, it definitely is. Things have changed a lot. And the parents many times have become out of control, which makes it more difficult for coaches to do
it's getting
the job of coaching.
You're going to see, and you're starting to see it now in high school boys basketball. There's some teams really struggling to find somebody to come out and coach these teams. And it all goes back to all the extracurricular stuff that's going on with dealing with parents and egos, and these kids go play in these travel leagues and all this stuff, and their parents spend lots of money, and they think their kid's an All-American and they need to be starting every game, or the program needs to revolve around them. And when things like that don't happen, then it becomes an issue and it creates problems. And we do a lot of ball games over the winters, and you sit up there and you hear people complaining about the coaching. Fans, parents amongst ourselves get divided in little groups, and the state of high school athletics is pretty concerning to me, having come up through the time when, the last thing you'd ever want to do was go home and say something to your mom or dad about the coach, because they just said, well, hey, we'll solve that problem. Just turn your stuff in and come home if you don't like the way they're playing or the way they're doing, So anyway, there's a lot of challenges with high school athletics right now, and the good teams find a way to deal with it, and the not-so-good teams struggle trying to find a way to stay competitive and keep everybody happy.
Well, again, we've been trying to make connection with Coach Dan Mings. I know they're trying to practice down there this morning at Johnston City. I don't know if they got the heavy rain that came through here a little while ago or not, so it could be that they are in the midst of trying to do something, and hopefully we'll connect with him later on the show. But we are going to shift gears here and move on, as we want to talk about the South 7 Conference a little bit, and namely the Mount Vernon Rams, as Coach Mark Goodheart joins us on the show right now. Good morning, Goody. How are you?
Good morning. Hey, good talking to you, Randy.
Great to have you on the Sports Couch, and here we go. Football season is just about to get underway for next week in week number 1, and hey, the Mount Vernon Rams are finally going to get to play at the new school on the new football field, although I know week 1 you travel to Taylorville, but we are going to see 4 home games this year at the new school, and it's finally great to have that all corrected as far as the field and the irrigation and all that. That's been something that's kind of been weighing on everybody's shoulders for a while, but it's good to finally see that taken care of, isn't it?
Yes. It's been heavy on my shoulders, just the anticipation and the hopes of playing at the new stadium this year. And I tell you, the grounds crew and maintenance in Mount Vernon did a tremendous job. Field looked fantastic last night. Scoreboard was lit up. There was lights on the scoreboard I didn't even know worked. So, had a great crowd at Meet the Team last night. And hopefully put on a pretty good show for the community.
All right, so tell us a little bit more about Meet the Team last night. I'm sure you did some scrimmaging, right?
We had a great crowd. Our numbers are a little low this year, so we kind of put everybody together, freshman through senior, and we just ran up and down the field. Had a great showing last night from the guys. So it was good. It was good to get on that field and play some football.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about the returning guys for the Rams this year. Who are some of the key guys that returned to the Rams football unit this year that you're going to be leaning heavily upon?
Hey, Nick Malone, took the reins middle of last year. Brandon Rutherford kind of stepped aside and let the young quarterback, Nick Malone, take over, and so he's got the reins this year. Cade Scarborough worked hard for us last year. Jari Seacrest ran the ball for us last year, kind of moved him out to a wide receiver. Isaiah Damron, Hollywood, is really coming on as a junior wideout. He's kind of seen the defensive side of the ball this year, and I think he's kind of found a home as one of the corners. We have Jeremiah Fitzgerald's kicking the ball, playing a little linebacker. He's double dipping with soccer and playing, wanting to play some football. There's a slew of kids that played last year. Kiamani Craig was a great linebacker for us last year. Grown a little bit. Giovanni Tate returning. He's a senior. Colby Gentles will strap it up for us this year. Chris Singh, a senior. Lineman, probably a two-way player, offense and defensive line. Gabe Blumeyer was a center for us last year. Got a concussion and missed the remainder of the season. He's back. And Dawson Winkleman, who took Gabe's position at center last year, another senior lineman. So hey, these guys are coming on, and I can't wait to head up to Tornado Land and just see if we can turn this ship in the right direction. Coming off of an 0-9 season, we've got a lot to prove as a group, individually, as a coach myself. I gotta get that win.
Yeah, I understand, and that's you can't get the second one until you get the first one, and
Amen.
And the schedule, let's be honest, the schedule is tough for the Mount Vernon Rams, and I think everybody realizes that. I mean, first of all, South 7 Conference is brutal, and then you take the teams that you got in non-conference with teams like Taylorville and Triad and Mount Carmel, and now you've got one that has been added this year that you're going to play a team from Chicago on a neutral field, right?
Yeah, we're Woodstock. Woodstock has 2 high schools. We're playing the. I think it was in 2009 they split. We're taking Woodstock High School. I think they had a great season last year. We're meeting at Urbana High School, home of the Tigers, and another long trip for us. So Taylorville, up to Urbana, and then we have Triad at home. Will be our first game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, they're looking at the schedule for the Rams. What I'm trying to say is there really is no cupcakes on that schedule. I mean, every single week 1 through 9, it's a very, very tough opponent.
It is. South 7 is a strong conference. So, you make the playoffs through the South 7 conference, that's you've done something. And kind of set yourself up for the playoffs and, first round, second round, hopefully. For a while, Mount Vernon was in that run where, consecutive years, when Coach Mings was here, consecutive years going to the playoffs. That's definitely what I personally want to get back to. But, you got to crawl before you can walk.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to. All right. So week 1 at Taylorville. Do you know much about the Taylorville Tornadoes coming in?
Yeah, the Taylorville is always a tough ball club. Other than the game film that we have from last year, that's all we really have. Taylorville's a tough team year in and year out. They've got a good feeder program, and community supports their football, and but not much other than what we saw last year, and what I saw of Taylorville, a running clock in the second half. I don't want to see that again.
I understand that. Well, they play in a tough conference up there too. I mean, they do. That's a tough conference. They play some good competition, and so they come battle tested and ready. And like I said, it's no cakewalk when you play Taylorville.
Right. Yeah, and I'm glad we have them week 1. Both teams are trying to figure themselves out. They've played against each other all summer, and I know our guys are kind of ready to hit somebody else instead of each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me give you a chance to talk about your coaching staff this year. Who's the assistants that you have along the sideline with you this year, Mark?
Well, this year Chris McCann is offensive coordinator. Last year he was he was a head freshman coach, and he's done a great job through the winter, and kind of set the stage for the OC this year. Steve McCoy, a long-time Mount Vernon, former quarterback, Hall of Famer, and he coached with Coach Mings down at Johnston City for a couple of years. So brought him back home, and he's helping out this year. I've got Wayne Whitfield, former player that I coached, years ago, and he's helping out, giving back to the community and the school. I've got Matt Russell, a young kid that eager to learn the coaching gig. This is his second year back. He'll run the freshman program. I've got Dontrell Black, another former Mount Vernon Ram, giving back, coaching defensive backs and the wide receivers. I've got a Grayling Townsend, gentleman that played over at the East St. Louis way, and a tough program way back in the 70s. Played for Coach Dempsey down at SIU Carbondale, so he's helping out and coaching. Alex Gentles, another former Ram, played here years ago and giving back. Alex Borland, another player, coaching the O-line. Heath Rutherford, played here years ago and also giving back. So, got a lot of coaches, young coaching staff, so they're kind of learning their craft and giving back to the kids, so it's really good to see.
Yeah, that is a lot of coaches. It is, and when you got that many guys around you to help you, that hopefully can help you really fine-tune some areas on the football team.
Yeah, definitely. I'm lucky to have a bunch of young guys around. They've got a lot of rah-rah in them, and the kids see that, and they really feed off of it. I'm fortunate to have them.
Well, Danny and I were sitting here talking about a junior football program a little bit ago, and the fact that they've started that here recently down at Hamilton County. It's been effective for them down there. And talk about that program in Mount Vernon, too, and how important it is to have a junior football league program and how that ultimately feeds your high school program. And I know you've been involved with that before, and tell us how important that is.
Well, the JCSA junior football program is vital to the football program at the high school level. That's kind of where I got my start in coaching. Evan Martin kind of got me involved in helping with his boys, Derek and Ryan, and then lo and behold, I'm up at the high school level. But if it wasn't for the JFL program, I don't know if we'd have the football players that we have today. Ron Bradford kind of runs that JFL, and I am lucky to have that cat ramrodding that JFL. The equipment, it's a thankless job with the equipment and equipment turn-in and concessions and travel and coaches and, Coach Graves down there, Coach Millwood, former player at Mount Vernon High School, giving back, coaching those young guys. Hey, it's vital for those 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to see good coaches, see kind of the end product at Mount Vernon High School. Hopefully that they will be playing someday. A lot of communities are kind of getting away from the junior program. It's just not, may have problems with it. Coaches, staff. Hey, but I'm lucky. I count my blessings to have that junior league program.
Yeah, it really is important. Well, and now with the new stadium and everything, I'm hoping that, the excitement of playing at a new school and a new stadium will eventually get more kids to want to try and come out and play football, because ultimately that's what you'd like to see, is an increase in numbers and to be able to add to your program.
Definitely. I think the football, around the country is taking a hit. I just, that some of the concussion stuff that's out there, but I think just the way coaches are coaching, tackling and heads-up football and hawk tackling, it's probably the safest. Football is probably the safest it's ever been. It's kind of one of those things. Sports are kind of year-round, which kind of pulls athletes away. Baseball never ends. Basketball never ends. As soon as football's over, we're in the weight room getting things going. So, there's a lot of avenues kids take. I just hate the kids that are kind of one sport athletes and not given a football chance. So, hopefully in the future, get some wins going, get some momentum, and we'll get more of the kids out.
Well, Mark, that's one of the key things right there. Coaches have to all be willing to share these athletes in these high schools, especially in these smaller 1A and 2A schools, because you got such limited numbers to begin with. If you get to the point that coaches don't want to share kids because the only thing they see is their program, it creates a lot of problems. I see this especially in these 1A and 2A schools, where, hey, I'd just sooner you really not play football because I don't want you getting hurt because I need you for basketball season. And then the football coach is saying, well, you need to be in the weight room working out. Well, when I come up through the deal, Dave Lee's deal was he was the athletic director and the head basketball coach. Whatever sport was in season, that's the one he wanted you playing.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And you don't see that. You don't see so much of that today.
No, coaches are stingy.
I think you're cutting out on us a little bit there, Mark. If you can maybe move a little bit, I think your cell's cutting out on us a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying that coaches are stingy, but coming up, when summer baseball was over, hey, it was football. It was football till November, and then when November came over, you either wrestled or you played basketball. I was fortunate to have Jim Woodward at high school, and if you weren't doing those, your butt was in the weight room. Mm-hmm. Then from weight room, you were running track. So from track, you're into baseball, and then it just keeps on going. But now, I'm going to get on my soapbox here, but it's just if coaches are not willing to force kids to play other sports, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. When I talk to a kid and they're involved in it, I'm not going to name the sport, but if they're involved in another sport and they tell me, well, I didn't even know I could play football if I was in this sport. Where are they getting that information?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and
I'm
sometimes
going to leave that one alone. But
well,
I think, if a kid is not playing multiple sports, their muscles are not getting the proper work and development, and then you don't have that kid's best interest at heart, I feel.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's not always another coach's fault. I mean, sometimes it's actually the parents' fault, too, because the parents wants them to just play one sport because they believe that Johnny's going to be the next Division I college athlete in their sport of choice, and that's not necessarily the case. That's why they're better off playing all the sports.
Yes, you're right. As an eighth grader playing baseball year round, man, you have no idea what your body's going to turn into by the time you turn. Those hormones kick in. You have no idea.
Right.
You could go from point guard your eighth grade year to an offensive lineman by the time you're a senior year. You just don't know. So my belief is don't limit yourself. You're not a one sport athlete, until maybe you get to college or you get out of college. There's all kinds of two sport athletes in college. But give yourself a chance, and you're dead on when you say parents. Parents are sometimes the culprit. I agree 100%.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that probably all day, Mark, but we'll save that for another time. But, hey, we appreciate your time this morning on the Sports Couch, and best of luck as you prepare for the start of the season, and good luck as you make that trip to Taylorville to take on the Tornadoes, and let's get a W up there, okay?
Hey, thank you, sir. Great talking to you, and go Rams.
Go Rams. Have a good weekend. All righty, bye-bye. That's Mark Goodheart, head football coach of the Mount Vernon Rams, and boy, he's got some changes in the coaching staff this year. He's added a lot of additional coaches. Got Steve McCoy helping him there now. And, so hopefully having a chance to have a more, one-on-one with some of the coaches and the players, Danny, hopefully that will transition into being able to tidy up and, make some of these position players a little bit better at what they do, and maybe that'll translate into some wins on the field. We hope so.
You got to have good people want to be involved, Randy, and takes a lot of effort to make things happen, and sounds like there's some key people come on board for the Mount Vernon Rams.
Yeah, it's good to see. Well, we have, of course, a new coach down at Hamilton County, as Jeff Rush has returned as the head coach down there. We're going to chat with him coming up next here on the Sports Couch. Let's find out what's going on with the Foxes. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more in just a moment here live on the Sports Couch.
It's the local sports talk show that everyone is talking about. It's the Sports Couch on 90.9 The Vine and AreaSports.net.
Hamilton County Flooring on the south side of the square in McLeansboro offers a full line of flooring, cabinets, and countertops for your home or business. Countertops or showers are available in granite, quartz, corian, custom marble, or ceramic tile. Their showroom includes a complete line of flooring available in ceramic tile, cork, bamboo, hardwood, vinyl, laminate, and carpeting, including name brands such as Armstrong, Bruce, Marazzi, Mulligan, Shaw, and Tarkett. We thank Hamilton County Flooring in McLeansboro for their support.
Music and ministry on the Vine is provided by Tony Wilt State Farm Insurance Agency in Mount Vernon. Tony Wilt State Farm Insurance Agency specializes in providing your life, health, auto, and home insurance, as well as complete financial services. They are located at 4121 South Water Tower Place in Mount Vernon. Their phone number is 242-1421, and their website is tonywilt.com. We are grateful for their underwriting support.
And welcome back to the Sports Couch here live on a Saturday morning on 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine Radio, and also streaming live worldwide on both of our websites. Live audio streaming right now at wvyn.org and live video streaming at AreaSports.net. I'm Randy Olson live in studio along with Danny Anselment. And week one of the high school football season, of course, next weekend, and the Hamilton County Foxes will open up their season on the road at Albion. Will take on the Edwards County Lions. And the Foxes have a new head coach this year. But he's been there before and had some success before, and he's returning for another go-around. That's Jeff Rush, and he joins us on the phone right now. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning.
Well, welcome back to the football wars in Southern Illinois, and particularly in the Black Diamond Conference. It's good to see you back at the helm of the Foxes.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been a while, but everything's going real well here. We had a nice little scrimmage last night, and I've been really happy with the effort and work the guys have put in.
Well, Jeff, talk a little bit about your team. You've got a group of, I think, 11 seniors returning for you this season.
Yeah, we do. We got 11 seniors. All of them have done really well. Like I said, I've been real happy with them. They have worked very hard. We had a good summer. We've got our sophomores and juniors. We only have 5 juniors right now, and they've done really well as the sophomores. So we've got a really good attitude on the team. We've got a really good attitude on the field, and a bunch of guys helping each other out. So I've really been pleased with what we've seen so far.
Well, you had your green and white night last night to kick off the season. I'm sure you had a good turnout for that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a wonderful turnout. I think the stands were actually about 3/4 of the way full. It was really nice to see. The football moms, put on some pork sandwiches and stuff, and Mr. Beard provided the meat, and it was really a nice thing. I think they raised quite a bit of money. And it was a really, really nice atmosphere. It was kind of a game atmosphere. The kids were even a little bit nervous, so it was really good to have that and see that happen.
We'll talk a little bit about your opening game next week. You'll travel to Edwards County to take on the Edwards County Lions.
Yeah, we really, to be honest with you, I think we're about ready for them. We know that this is going to be a very difficult game for us. They're a well-coached team. They've got some excellent athletes on their squad, and we have to be prepared. So our guys, I think, are looking forward to it. I know they are. So we're really happy with what we've been able to put in, and all it is now is just polishing and getting ready for Friday night.
Talk a little bit about some of your key players this season. Some guys you're going to be counting on, Jeff.
Well, I don't talk a lot about individual players because invariably I'll leave somebody out. So I don't talk too much about individual players, but our seniors, I talk about them in groups. What we're going to rely on our seniors. That's our big reliance that we have to have. We have to have those guys perform really well for us, and I think we will.
Talk a little bit about your coaching staff, the guys that are putting in some good time for you.
A lot of the same guys that were in last year. We've got a few additions. David Harmon, who's helping with the JV, as well as Levi Chapman. Levi played for me my last year. He was a freshman coming in, and now he's helping us coach. Ray Minor from Denton and Robin LeBouy is also giving us a hand this year. A lot of the same guys as last year, and they've done a very good job. Been really happy with them.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining us here this morning. Sounds like you got some enthusiasm and excitement down there in Hamilton County, and I'm sure you're like all the other coaches. You were glad to get the pads on a little bit and hit somebody with some pads, and now you're looking forward to week 1.
Yeah, the first couple of days are pretty boring until you can actually hit somebody. So, and the kids are the same way. They get kind of bored with it, with a lot of the walkthrough stuff. But it's been really fun the last couple of days because we can just line up and start squaring up.
Well, okay, Coach. We'll be looking forward to talking to you some more throughout the season here, and wish your team the best of luck next week up there at Edwards County.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Alrighty.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's Jeff Rush, head coach of the Hamilton County Foxes. He is back at the helm, and I knew he didn't want to give away any secrets as far as what he was going to be doing offensively or anything, schemes, because, again, that week 1 opponent, you're unknown, and you want to stay kind of unknown,
right?
Until you have a chance to show your colors. But yeah, like you had said earlier, he was out of coaching for a while and had an opportunity to kind of reevaluate and reassess things, and probably coming in with a new attitude himself as far as maybe how to do things. And maybe some different schemes and maybe some things that he thought worked well. Maybe he's going to change a little bit and tweak. We'll see. So not sure what to expect from the Foxes this year, but it's going to be very intriguing to see what they do.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff Rush's team will line up and compete night in, night out when they come to play. They may not come home with the result that they were expecting or wanting, but it will not be because of lack of effort.
Well, and the thing that you remember before under Jeff Rush coach teams is the fact that they could put some points on the board. Now they might gave up a lot of points too defensively, but they had the ability to score. So a lot of times the Foxes were always in games, late into the stages of games because they could put points on the board.
Well, his philosophy was always a dangerous philosophy because a big play could happen at any moment, and he was never really out of a game. So it'll be interesting to see. He's got 11 seniors back, so if those young men can step up, and that sophomore team has a lot of expectations. Those boys have had quite a bit of success, and there's a lot of expectations around that group. Now it'll be whether they can step up and perform and do what they need to do.
Again, week 1 of the Black Diamond Conference, not only the Foxes are at Edwards County to take on the Lions, but we mentioned Fairfield at Johnston City. Chester's going to be at Eldorado in week 1. That's going to be a good matchup. Cesar-Valera is at Carmi. Vienna is at Christopher. You heard Coach Townsend say don't count out the Carmi Bulldogs. He thought they were going to be a tough matchup this year.
They always have a great team over at Carmi. They usually have some good, skilled people that play at a high level, and they do a good job over there.
Yeah, Coach Simon's been there a number of years, and he does a good job. He sure does. A little Illini conference. We're going to be talking about that conference here in a moment with one of the coaches, as the Flora Wolves will open up the season at Marshall in Little Illini conference play. Also in that conference in week 1, it'll be Red Hill at Robinson, Casey Westfield at Paris, Lawrenceville at Olney. The thing that will be interesting to see, Danny, will be is can Casey Westfield bounce back after a terrible season last year when I think they went like 1-8. And, they used to just be the perennial powerhouse up there. And can they turn it around and be back to the level that they were at one time?
That was a very surprise deal right there last season. I don't think there's anybody saw that coming.
No. And so we'll see what kind of team they field this year. And Brian Tackitt of the Flora Wolves is going to join us here in a moment, and we'll talk about that week 1 matchup at Marshall. See what he thinks about playing Marshall in week 1. It's nothing like jumping in the frying pan in that very first week, but maybe that's a good thing.
Well, Marshall definitely will be one of the perennial favorites there for sure. And like you said, sometimes it's best to play them because they won't have their polished, fine-tuned effort as they will by time week 2 or 3. And it may be your chance to sneak up on them and get them right off the bat.
Exactly. And I thought that's something that Coach Townsend said earlier in an interview with him this morning, the fact that he said, in week 1, a lot of what goes into week 1, surviving and winning, is winning the battle of penalties. Because he said both teams are, rusty and just starting, and they're going to make a lot of mistakes and a lot of offsides, a lot of procedure penalties, things like that. And so until you polish that up, it's a battle of penalties many times in week 1.
Sometimes it is. Well, what about your St. Louis Cardinals?
Well, they're still in the race, but it's been you talk about a roller coaster.
Wow.
What a season. Just when you think they're out of it, they win those 8 games in a row and get back in it, but then they drop 3, and now you got the injury bug because you got Rosenthal on the DL, you got Wainwright on the DL. Hey, Danny, I think even you and me could hit that 58-mile-an-hour curveball from Wainwright.
Well,
that's like slow-pitch softball. I
would like to think I could.
It's like slow-pitch softball coming in there. Boy, oh boy, he has lost his velocity. And, the guy had 11 wins this year and was doing okay, especially for his age. And now all of a sudden he's lost it, and then Rosenthal seems to have lost it. And so I don't know.
I'd say they're both headed for arm operations.
It could be. And so
especially Rosenthal.
Somebody's going to have to step up now.
Well, they really stepped up last night.
Man, they survived it last night, 11-10 against the Pirates, but that was a pretty dicey ninth inning last night. And Sungwon Oh
took 6 guys to get 5 outs.
Yeah, Sungwon Oh does not quite have the stuff he had last year. I mean, he was so much more effective last year than he is this year, and that slider just doesn't have that movement or that bite on it this year as it did last year.
He's not even close to being a closer.
No, he's just
if you're counting on him, you're going to be about 10 games out.
Mm-hmm. Last year he was tough, but this year it's a whole nother story. But again, there's a lot of young arms there in the minors, and I think we're going to see more of them. But you got to be happy with the way that the young bats have been manifesting themselves this year. I mean, Paul DeYoung is definitely here to stay. He has won that shortstop job for sure. And the one thing that I've noticed is that Aledmus Diaz, who was the Cardinals shortstop and was sent down to Memphis, has now started working out at second base and third base at Memphis because, well, he's come to the realization that the Cardinals have their shortstop in Paul DeYoung. He's not going anywhere. So if Diaz ever gets back to the big show, he's going to have to do it either at second base or third base.
You know, and Wong looks like he may have finally got it between his ears.
Maybe so. He's finally coming on a little bit and putting some of that stuff behind him where, like you said, he would just let it bother him so much.
The best thing is the attention's went away from him.
Yeah, you're right about that. And that probably has made an impact.
You know,
as a result.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with this jammed-up outfield. You cannot continue to have all these people in this outfield position.
No, and you've got guys.
And more coming.
You got more coming. You got a couple of guys that are busting at the seams down there in the farm club ready to come up for the outfield, and they're going to push these guys later on. So, hey, we'll talk about that some more between now and 10 o'clock, the Cardinals, and we'll talk a little bit about the Cubs as well. So stay tuned. We'll do that coming up here on the Sports Couch. But right now, let's take a quick break to hear from some of our great underwriting sponsors. And then when we come back, we'll visit with Coach Brian Tackitt of the Flora Wolves as the Sports Couch continues right here.
It's the local sports talk show that everyone is talking about. It's the Sports Couch on 90.9 The Vine and AreaSports.net.
Real Life Radio Foundation is blessed by the generosity of Monroe Accounting in McLeansboro. They specialize in a full line of accounting services for businesses, individuals, and farms, including tax preparation, payroll preparation, quarterly sales taxes, and more. Their office is located at 102 East Market Street in downtown McLeansboro with experience and knowledge to serve your needs. Their phone number is 643-3993. Monroe Accounting in McLeansboro, a proud supporter of 90.9 and 105.5 The Vine.
Underwriting on the Vine is provided by Roadhouse Harley-Davidson in Mt Vernon.
You're traveling to Roadhouse Harley-Davidson, a dealership in Mt Vernon, Illinois, with hundreds of bikes and thousands of parts, where we trade for anything inside or out of this dimension. When you buy a pre-owned bike, Gamma Blasters, Nuka-Cola, satellites, even your grandmother's cat. On August 19th and 21st, during Eclipse Weekend, tinfoil hats will be rampant at our free Conspiracy Cookout. Roadhouse Harley-Davidson, your next stop, the Totality Zone.
Prominent Technologies in McLeansboro is an underwriting supporter of The Vine. Chad May and Prominent Technologies specialize in computer and laptop repair, IT system upgrades, virus protection software, digital security camera installation, and on-location consulting. Prominent Technologies are computer problem solvers, and they have a long list of satisfied customers. Their phone number is 643-7114, and they are located just north of the square in McLeansboro.
Hey, welcome back to the Sports Couch here live on a Saturday morning on 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine Radio, and also streaming live worldwide on both of our websites, live audio streaming at WVYN.org and live video streaming at AreaSports.net. I'm Randy Olson, live in studio, along with Danny Anselment. Danny's stepped out for a moment, but he'll be right back here in just a second. Well, we've talked a lot about the Black Diamond Conference this morning. We want to talk about the Little Illini Conference right now, and namely the Flora Wolves, as they will open up their season week 1 on the road at Marshall, where they'll take on those Marshall Lions. And joining us right now is head coach of the Wolves, that's Brian Tackitt. Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good morning, Randy. How are you doing?
Great. Good to have you on the Sports Couch. And, boy, here we are, football season again already. Can you believe it?
Yeah, everything goes by so fast anymore. They say time goes by faster when you're old, so I guess I'm getting older.
Well, I'm believing that, too, because it seems to be going by faster for me as well. Did you have your Meet the Team night last night at Dancy Field?
Yeah, we did. We have a public practice is basically what we do, and canned food is your ticket in, and I got about 300 cans of food in the back of my truck to deliver to the pantry, so that's a good thing and good thing for the community. And but yeah, we just kind of do a public practice. Don't really have the numbers to do like an orange-blue scrimmage like some schools might get to do, but we alter our practice schedule a little bit, kind of make it more public friendly and do a few things and fun things for the crowd and get them involved. But it was a good night.
Yeah. Well, tell us about your numbers this year for Flora.
Well, our numbers we're at 40, which is just a hair down from where we were last year. We'd love to have another 10, 15, 20 kids, but a lot of programs are in that position. But the thing about our numbers are this year, last year we were top heavy with 18 seniors, and this year we're bottom heavy with 16 freshmen. So the sophomore through senior numbers are what are really, really down this year for us. But it makes it tough this year. But it's good to see more excitement at the lower levels, and we've got good numbers at our junior pro level. So hopefully we can get that 40 the next few years back up into the 50, 55, and a little bit better range.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've probably already sent a thank you card to your athletic director for scheduling you against the Marshall Lions in Week 1, huh?
Yeah, he tells me this conference schedule rotates ever so often.
Okay.
It seems like it's been about 3 decades, and we still open up with Marshall, so it's tough.
Yeah, okay. Well, last year, of course, your Flora Wolves went 6-4. You did get into the playoffs last year and ran up against a very tough Eldorado team, and so no harm in losing to that bunch because a lot of people did last year. But you did have a good season. You got into the playoffs. You reached that goal that you wanted to do, and I'm sure that that has to be another goal this year is to try to get back to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, it is. The kids pick a theme each year, and this year for our poster and T-shirts, it was one team, 1 year, and new team, new year, same dream. So, it's the same goals as, what we come in every year. But it was good for us last year to get back into the playoffs and generate some excitement for the school and the community. And that's definitely something that our seniors this year and on down that, get a taste of what it was like to play in Week 10. And they've been talking about that, really since last January or this past January when we got things started in the weight room. It's just continuing on with what those kids did last year, and there's no reason why they can't do the same.
Sure. Well, talk about some of the key players coming back this year for the Flora Wolves, some guys that you're really leaning on this year.
Yeah, on our offensive line and really our defensive line, the only kid that we bring back that started last year is Drew Howard, a senior, but he's been starting in those spots since he's a sophomore, and he's a 2-time first-team all-conference kid on the offensive line, and he's going to anchor our both of our lines, offense and defense. He is so good. His leadership is so good in individual drills and team drills, and he knows the guys beside him are going to be new faces this year, but he's going to get the most out of them. And we've got some good kids like Cameron Eccleberry is a junior, and Max Thomason's a junior, and Connor Howard's a senior, and Drew just does a great job bringing those guys along with him, and he's very demanding with those kids, but in such a good way. He's one of our captains this year, and another captain is Dawson Goldstein. He'll be a senior, and he'll run the offense for us this year. He did some of that in spots for us last year too, trying to get him prepared for this year, and he throws a really, really nice ball, a little left-handed kid, and he's going to be a good player for us and two-way starter. Jordan Smith, another senior, is one of our captains, and he played a lot last year at our receiver spots and is going to do the same for us this year and be a safety for us on defense. And our fourth captain is Dylan Bible, and he's also a senior. He played quite a bit of offense for us last year too, and started on defense. So in the secondary. So those are our four captains and four guys we'll lean on, but we got some guys coming up. Andrew Pierce will be our running back this year. He's a junior. He did a really great job for us last year at the JV level, and he's a tough kid and a bruising type running back. We expect big things out of him, and Preston Owens is a senior who's worked hard and going to be in the mix, and Coach Lieb's son, Owen Lieb, will be playing both sides of the ball for us as a senior, and he works hard. And
hey,
John Wilson, and we got some guys that we can throw out there this year.
Coach Lieb said make sure you don't get any of his basketball players hurt.
Yeah, well, we don't try to. That's for sure. And I, it's tough for him. But Coach Lieb supports us, 100%. I know in some schools that's maybe not necessarily the case, but he pushes for his kids to play, and if something happens, he doesn't hold that against us. So I'm sure he's holding his breath in the stands, but very, very supportive of our program.
Brian, we talked earlier with Mount Vernon Rams head coach, and one thing that's kind of got lost in high school athletics, so many kids get pushed to be one specialized individual, and in a small school like Hamilton County or Flora, you need all the kids, all the athletes to play everything for every sport to have a chance to be great, don't you?
You do. And these kids, some of it's with them and some of it's with the parents, but, they get one sport that maybe they're a little bit better at, or they enjoy just a little bit more, but they don't realize, hey, if you like basketball, come out and play the secondary, the football team, and work on those footwork drills.
Right.
How much better will your footwork be on the court playing defense?
Right.
Different thing, and the same thing with my baseball kids, especially my infielders, or working your hands, and what a better way to come out and catch a few footballs and work on that stuff. So, there's no secret to it. I mean, the kids that make it to those next levels are the kids that have done everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about the conference as a whole this year. What do you think about with the Little Illini Conference? How do you size it up this year?
Well, Newton's coming off the championship last year. I've always been someone who thought, well, if you're the defending champion, you have the right to be the favorite until someone proves otherwise. So I think Newton's going to be good. They bring back a lot of good pieces off their line. I know they lost some skilled kids, but they are a program that's got a lot of kids out, and I know they'll have good skilled kids to replace the ones that they lost. I look for Newton to be really, really good. We've already talked about Marshall a little bit. They're just, rebuilding is not a word in their vocabulary. They just reload every year, and they lost a lot of kids like we did too. Was looking at their roster the other day. They're only going to return 4 and 5 starters on each side of the ball, but they're always good. Coach Evers does a great job up there, and just a program that's very, very consistent. And a couple teams that are sort of the sexy picks this year is Red Hill, who returns just about everybody, and they made it to the second round of the playoffs last year, and they've played Newton really, really well the last 2 years, and kind of fell off there in the second half, and Newton went on to win. But a lot of people like Red Hill, and there's a good reason for that. And Paris too this year. Paris in the last couple of years they've won 1 or 2 games, but the last year we got them week 7, and that was rough for us. So they improved every single week. New coach really has things going up there, and they've got the numbers. They've always put 60 and 70 kids out, and he had them going last year. I look for them. I talked to Coach Claude Felter over the winter, and he said as long as he can find somebody that can play quarterback, because that's like the only thing they lost last year is a quarterback. But if he can find someone to play their quarterback spot, he thinks they can be a playoff team.
Oh, okay.
And then if you're Olney, you're sitting there and everyone's talking about Marshall Newton or these new upcoming teams. I'm sure Olney loves people not mentioning them, but Coach Music, always got athletes, and they're going to be good, this year too. So, and we hope to be in the mix somewhere in those, that upper half or, somewhere in there. So it'll be, the last couple of years, I think Newton's won it at 8-0, but it wouldn't surprise me this year to see the conference champion at least at 7-1, if not maybe 6-2.
Going to be a very competitive conference, it sounds like, in the Little Illini this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate the preview look here at the Flora Wolves, and it'll be fun to talk to you as we chat off and on throughout the season as well, and best of luck in your opening round game there at Marshall, okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, take care. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too.
Bye-bye. That is Brian Tackitt, head football coach of the Flora Wolves, and got their hands full in week 1 against the Marshall Lions, but he mentioned the fact that Red Hill's going to be pretty salty this year.
Well, got everybody back.
Yeah, and Robinson and even Paris and even Olney, So, going to be a tough conference this year. It really is. I got a text message from Coach Dan Mings, and he is ready to talk to us now. I don't know if he got lost in a flood or whatever earlier when we tried, but if you want to run down a few things for us there on that week 1 schedule, Danny, I'll connect with Coach Mings here, okay?
Okay. We'll relook at the opening round. Chester's going to be at Eldorado in the Black Diamond. Fairfield is going to travel down to Johnston City. Hamilton County will be at Edwards County. Cesar's going to be at Carmi, and Vienna will travel to Christopher. Some non-conference games. Anna Jonesboro is going to play West Frankfort. Carterville is going to be at Benton. Centralia will travel to Salem. Harrisburg's going to make the trek up to Mount Carmel. Marion's going to be at Mascoutah. Mount Vernon's going to make the trip to Taylorville. Nashville and Carlisle, they'll fire up over there on the west side of Washington County. So a lot of big games coming up next week to kick off the season.
It is an exciting time of year, that's for sure. Well, earlier in the show, we tried to connect with Coach Mings, and I guess he was lost in a flood or something. I don't know, but he has joined us now to give us the perspective on the Johnston City Indians. Coach Mings, how are you this morning?
Oh, I'm doing fine, guys. I apologize for that. I got watching film at the game we lost last night. Just got preoccupied.
Oh, no problem. We just thought that maybe, you were trying to practice, and we knew that heavy rain had come through here, and we thought you might have got that too, and you may have just got caught out in it. I didn't know. So.
Yeah, we didn't get a drop.
Really?
We're just worried. Yeah, we're just worried about all the Eclipse people moving in this week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got a lot of people coming in down your area, that's for sure. A lot of people. Every hotel room within like a 100-mile radius is booked up, I think. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, you could definitely play the license plate game today and win.
I bet you could play the license plate game today. That's true. Well, give us your perspective on the Johnston City Indians this year. We all know about Mr. Gualdoni. He's got to be the nucleus that you build around, I guess, coming back this year, right?
Yeah, he's going to be our quarterback, and from there, it's just a lot of inexperience and new kids and new positions, and it's like I said, sort of jokingly, we had the team last night and lost, so we've got a little bit of work to do, and it's just one of those things that we've got to get better pretty quick.
You lost to yourself last night, then. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was not good.
Well, in addition to Mr. Gualdoni, who are some of the key components that you do have coming back on this year's team, Coach?
Well, in the backfield, we've got Johnny Steed and Dallas Johnson and Dylan Fisher. I always run a 3-back offense, so those guys are in the back, and Matt West moved to center this year, and everything else is completely new, on the offense. Nobody's even close to the same position as they were in last year.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, we return exactly 0 starters at the positions they were in last year. Luca is just, he's going to play linebacker for us this year instead of safety, but other than that, everybody's new there as well. So it's been a big learning curve in the camp and the preseason.
Yeah, I understand. So would you say that you're more satisfied with your defense at this point instead of your offense, or vice versa?
I would say I'm not real satisfied with anything right now. Our kicking game is pretty good.
Okay.
Because Luca does that too.
Yeah.
Our kicking game is pretty decent. But we just have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that. And it's don't want to say rebuild or anything. Our expectations are still what our expectations are. Our coaches are out here this morning busting their tail and coaching the kids, and we just got to get better. I mean, The bottom line is we just have to get better.
Yeah, understand. Well, recently I saw a post where there was a photo of the current SIU Saluki football team, and hey, there's some Johnston City guys on that team, and that's got to make you proud as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. We've got 3 guys down there right now, and everything that we're getting back from the coaches. And we got one coach actually that he said, is there any way I could go watch that scrimmage this morning? So we got one coach over there to watch the kids. And, it's just what Nick's doing with the Southern Illinois kids, not just ours, but he's bringing in the best kids that Southern Illinois has to offer. And, just to being lucky, 3 of those kids were ours in the past. So it's very exciting. Can't wait for their season to get started, to get over there and watch our kids, see if they get on the field. And, it's not a given that they'll play. But they are part of Saluki football, and that's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's a big deal for your current players too. Yeah,
especially from a school, 330 kids. We've got 3 of them playing Division I football right now. And, I think Luca has a chance to maybe play Division I type football too. So,
I think he does. Yeah, that's great.
So we're very fortunate.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Fairfield Mules, your first week opponent. They're coming down to your place next Friday. What concerns you the most about the Fairfield Mules?
They're bigger than us. They're faster than us. They're better than us. I think that may be an issue.
Well, that's what Coach Townsend said about the Johnston City Indians.
Yeah, but Coach Townsend's lying.
Well, okay. I'm sure he'd probably say the same thing about you.
Yeah, I think he may not be being completely honest. But, they're picked number 1 in our conference for a reason. Obviously they're well coached. I think Justin is, I remember when he started, now I think that he is probably one of the better, if not the best coach in the conference. Very respectable coach. I think a lot of people really understand what he's done there, since he took over. And they just have a really good program right now, and they're rolling, and they've got a lot of kids. And, he just does a great job with them. His personality and, all the things that you want in a football coach, I think he's got. So this is not just me trying to fluff him, before we play, but I think that he is, one of the top-notch coaches around.
Well, yeah, Coach, he told us this morning he's got 58 kids out for football, and that speaks a lot for a small school to have 58 kids out, and that's definitely going to be an advantage for his Mules.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. In football, speed kills, but depth is probably one of the most important things. We're sitting here at 50 kids, and that's down numbers for us, but we feel like the kids that we got, they're going to try hard, they're going to work hard, they're going to do everything that we ask them to do, but depth and the depth that he has on his roster, his sophomore through senior depth is pretty amazing.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Well, we'll let you get going. I know you got other things you got to take care of this morning, but we do appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you throughout the season. And best of luck next week as you open up against the Mules, okay?
You got it, and I'll try to have my ringer on the next time.
Hey, no problem. All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. It's Coach Dan Mings of the Johnston City Indians, and again, they'll open up at home next week against the Fairfield Mules. He said they're bigger than us, they're faster than us, and what else did he say? Stronger than us? I don't know, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That was
bigger,
good.
Faster, stronger, had them outmanned at every position.
Oh, that's great. That is great. Hey, when we come back, we are going to talk to the new head coach of the Eldorado Eagles, another favorite coming into this season because they've got an outstanding player coming back. We'll talk to new coach Joe Clark of the Eagles when we come back. Stay tuned.
It's the local sports talk show that everyone is talking about. It's the Sports Couch on 90.9 The Vine and AreaSports.net.
The radio ministry of 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine thanks The Good House Bed and Breakfast in Franklin, Tennessee for their ministry partnership. The Good House has it all in a rustic, wooded location 10 miles from Nashville. The Good House sleeps up to 10, but is also great for just 2. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, Wi-Fi, a full kitchen, and a large family room and game room helps make your getaway to Music City a memory-filled trip of a lifetime. For more information about the Good House Bed and Breakfast in Franklin, Tennessee, call 615-416-5770 or visit NashvilleFranklinRental.com.
Accidents happen. It's part of life. But when an accident occurs with your car or truck, you can count on the professionals at Sesser Auto Body in Sesser. Whether you have a collision with a deer, a building, a parking post, or another vehicle, Sesser Auto Body in Sesser can restore your car or truck to look like nothing ever happened. That's why many people in Southern Illinois refer to Sesser Auto Body as the Collision Pros. We appreciate the underwriting support of Sesser Auto Body in Sesser.
And welcome back to the Sports Couch here live on a Saturday morning on 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine Radio, and also streaming live worldwide on both of our websites. Live audio streaming right now at WBYN.org and live video streaming at AreaSports.net. I'm Randy Olson, live in studio along with Danny Anselment. And our final guest on the show this morning is new head football coach of the Eldorado Eagles, and that is Joe Clark. Joe joins us right now. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
You bet. Well, welcome to the Sports Couch, and welcome to the football sidelines here in Southern Illinois and the Black Diamond Conference as you take over the Eldorado Eagles. And, boy, they have had a lot of success here over the last couple of years, and so you're walking into some big shoes there, aren't you?
Sure. Coach Hampton, departed, and trying to step up as the head football coach, and excited about the opportunity. And good friend of mine moved on. It's reality. But we were here for 9 years, and I'm excited for the challenge to try to continue the success that we've had.
Well, tell us about your background and what led up to you becoming the head coach there at Eldorado.
Well, I'm from Eldorado. Got a cup of coffee at McKendree football, and then worked at Carlisle a little bit. Worked down at Massac County a little bit.
Okay.
Ended up back here 9 years ago with Coach Hampton, and been here, or about 10 years ago now, I guess, and been here ever since. And just kind of learning and growing, and trying to do a good job for my community, and that's really the short story.
Well, that's great, and it's going to be easier for you to make the transition, I think, than it would be maybe another coach that would be coming in from the outside. The fact that you already know the players, you've been there alongside Coach Hampton and assisting him there on the sidelines, and that's going to, I think, make that transition easier, isn't it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, relationships are established, and system is 99% carryover. So what you would have in a normal coaching transition or a typical coaching transition, has been pretty fluid in a lot of ways. Coach Hampton and I, had a pretty decent partnership in the way we approach things. So it's been pretty seamless.
Will the systems be much the same as what we've seen from Eldorado Eagles football in the past, or will you tweak things a little bit and kind of put your own stamp on it?
I'm sorry, did you say the system?
Yeah, right. Or will you kind of put your own stamp on it?
It's pretty similar. Without getting into details.
Sure.
It's pretty similar. We run the football, and we try to play, fundamental defense, and nothing fancy. And our kids do a great job in the off season and lock in, during preparation. And just got a fortunate group of kids right now that, are hungry and continue to have vision on the goals that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, the thing we've always joked about in the past with Coach Hampton when we've had him on the show is the fact that the brand of football that Eldorado has played the last couple of years has been what I would call smash mouth football. I mean, really, you guys have been very physical with your opponents, and you've usually won the battle on the line of scrimmage there in that battle of physicality. Would you agree?
Yes, sir. We try to develop our offensive line as much as possible through the off season, and it's been a strength of ours, since we've established our level of success, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and we plan on that continuing. I mean, it ebbs and flows a little bit, but good running backs, solid passing game when you need it, and run the football. It's kind of who we are, and it's not sexy, but it gets it done.
Oh, and it definitely gets it done, and the success speaks for itself over the last couple of years with Eagles football. And let's talk about some of the key guys you got coming back this year with you, Coach Clark. And obviously, it's got to begin with Mr. Traxler, as he's a beast, right?
Yeah, the big names are Traxler and Atterbury. They're both really exceptional athletes for our league, and have a future playing collegiate athletics if they want it. Third-year quarterback. Returning quarterback, Cale Oglesby, solid leader, solid quarterback, great kid. Offensive lineman, Justin Mace, Kyle Worley, anchoring the offensive line as returning starters. Gannon Mahoney is a senior. It's not on a radar for many, but he's got a fighter's heart, and he's going to do fine. So I mean, I could run through names, but we're our program in recent years has been player led, and kids are just driven to try to achieve, and we're not perfect, but we overall we try to develop and do the right things, make good choices, and continue moving forward, and that's what these kids have done, and I'm excited. I'm impatient is a better word maybe to get to next Friday and to see where we're at.
Now I got to know: are you an Alabama Crimson Tide fan like your buddy Mr. Hampton?
I am not an Alabama fan. I am not a very. I try not to be a fan. I'm not very good at it. If I root for a football team, it's the Dallas Cowboys, and
okay.
It's more misery than enjoyment most of the time. But I just enjoy watching. I watch a lot of football. And
okay.
Enjoy it. And, but yeah, he was Bama crazy.
I'm telling you.
About it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a Michigan State guy, and every time we'd have him on the show, I had to listen to a bunch of stuff about Alabama.
Yeah, he was. He's a big Saban guy, and he roots for him, that kind of stuff. But more so than that, he really kind of just, which is a good one. And I tried to, get on board with him, to try to learn as well. He really he tries to study that program and see how it fits into what you're trying to do at your level. I mean, obviously,
sure,
it's a different brand, but he was. I used to give him a hard time when the Auburn was pulling out their unique scenarios with Alabama sometimes just to mess around with him, but it was all in good fun.
Oh yeah, that Auburn, that's a dirty word to an Alabama fan, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There is, yeah. That's like the Cubs and Cardinals, So
exactly.
Right up there with it. It sure is.
Bad blood for sure.
Yeah.
Bad blood.
Well, hey, you open up the season at home against Chester. What do you know about Chester, and what concerns you most about Chester in Week 1?
It's really unique. The similarities. It's two quality programs. Both coaches are first-year head coaches who have been assistants in the program for a number of years. Both teams have about 5 or so starters back on both sides of the ball. So it's kind of, it's a very, even matchup in a lot of ways. And they got a third-year quarterback that I'm sure they'll rely on. They like to spread it out a little bit and get you in space. And Chester's a lot like us in the fact that they've got just at their core, when they're at their best, they really got some hard-nosed, tough kids. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm ready to enjoy that night because there's so much that you do in preparation throughout the year, and then and it's not even really a guarantee. But if you want to look at it, you're guaranteed about 9 of them. So our kids, coaches, kids, fans, parents, we're just ready to let it happen and live with the results. A week from yesterday.
Sure. And overall, as you look at the Black Diamond Conference this year, how do you size it up top to bottom?
I don't do a lot of predictions, and I don't want to give you a bunch of coach speak, but Chester's the best team in the league, in my opinion, right now. And if we're lucky enough to have success against them, then Vienna will be the next team. It just that's from the coaching standpoint. That's how you got to approach things. You start prognosticating things, then it gets a little hairy sometimes. But when teams that have returners or us, and Fairfield, probably the top two. Carmi's got a good core of linemen coming back. CZR, I believe, is on the rise. Sester is continues to improve and has some upperclassmen core kids. For the past year or two, they've been a little young in some positions. So, the league is a neat league. It's a balanced league as far as school sizes and types of athletes, types of kids. So you just never know. Johnson City, the Galdoni kid is special, and Coach Mings, gets those kids motivated in a unique way. So it's interesting to see. I like to, week one is usually not a very good tell sign, but after 2 or 3, you can kind of see the teams that are heading in the right direction, and the teams that may be still kind of searching for some success a little bit. But as far as our vision, it's Chester. We're locked in, trying to prepare and have success.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Well, hey, we've enjoyed talking to you this morning, and look forward to having you on throughout the season. And best of luck to your Eldorado Eagles as you open up at home next week against Chester. All right.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Eagle pride forever.
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend. All righty. Bye-bye. That is Joe Clark, new head coach of the Eldorado Eagles. But, again, there's a hometown guy who's come back to Eldorado. He's been an assistant, under Coach Hampton for a number of years, Danny, and so it makes it a smoother transition, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Hopefully they'll just keep right on and rolling how they were. He's I'm sure not going to go in and make a lot of changes, so but he'll still put his own mark on the system.
Well, with the guys that he's got coming back, Traxler and Atterbury and Oglesby and some of those guys, they're loaded.
You'll see this Traxler kid playing at some D1 school.
Yeah, I think you very easily could. And, of course, those guys play basketball,
he's
too.
He's got a football body.
Yeah, we see him play basketball, too. And he's got a big body for basketball.
Oh,
that's for
he's
sure.
a monster.
A tank inside there, yeah. Well, before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit more about the Cardinals. Game and a half out behind the Cubs. Milwaukee's right there, too, game and a half out. Again, depth, pitching, staying healthy. And not only are the Cardinals suffering some problems right now with, Wainwright going down and Rosenthal going down, you've got some injuries on the Cubs, too. I mean,
Cubs lose Lester.
Yeah, lost Lester, lost Contreras. And then they got some guys underperforming this year on the Cubs, too. So, I mean, really, the division is still wide open.
It's anybody's to win or lose.
It is. It really is. But, the only way you're going to get in is to win the division because the wild card's not coming from the Central.
No.
So the only way to get in is to win the division. And but right now, 3 teams are right there neck and neck, and even the Pirates are not that far out. But definitely the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Brewers are all lumped up there together within a game and a half of each other.
Well, it all still come down to pitching.
Ultimately, it will, and the Cardinals' starting pitching has been pretty good this year. The question marks have been the bullpen. I mean, they've blown 22 games. The bullpen has blown. I think
they'd
this
have
year.
A heck of a lead if they just won half of them.
Just won half of those. You're right. If you just win half of those 22 games, the bullpen lost. It'd be an entirely different situation in the standings right now. The Cardinals would have about a 5 or 6 game lead.
But there's nobody right now that you really feel comfortable seeing come out of the bullpen. Bowman till last night. Tyler Lyons has been doing pretty decent. Cecil, it's just an adventure with him.
Yeah, you never know.
It's just amazing.
Brebbia has been good at some times, but lately he's been taking some knocks as well. So,
and it's just. And I don't know if there's somebody at the minor leagues that is really going to come and make an impact in that bullpen.
I think they're going to have to start using Luke Weaver probably as a starter now, I guess, in place of Wainwright. You may see them bring John Gant back up from the minor leagues and let him do some spot starting or maybe put him in middle relief. I don't know. We'll see.
There's a guy that was pretty hot in the spring.
Yeah, he was.
You ain't heard anything about him all season long.
And I don't know what happened. They brought him up for just a little while early in the season, then they sent him back down, And he's still there at Memphis. He's pitching decent. I'm not going to say he's setting the world on fire down there, but he's pitching decent.
But you just don't ever hear that name in a conversation or anything.
No, you really don't. And he was dominant at spring training. He really was. He looked very good at spring training. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But, game and a half out and still plenty of games left to be played. So really anything can happen. Danny, we're out of time. Let's get out of here and make room for some more music here on the Vine. And then, of course, we'll be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And we'll have a lot of football results to talk about.
Interesting to see what shakes out next week.
Yeah, it will. And we're also going to be having to visit with some of the area cross-country coaches. And
Sam Wilson's got a loaded group down there.
He does have a loaded group. I was looking at the team picture. My goodness sakes, he may have more out for cross-country than they have for football.
He's got a very up and strong program
got some
right
runners
now,
down
and he's got some kids that can flat run.
Yeah,
too.
he can. Yeah.
I'll give you a name, Butler.
Butler, okay.
This kid's going to be the surprise of this group.
Mm-hmm. Well, they got some pretty good girls running on that team too.
The golf team down there.
The boys' golf team is very good.
Terry Odd stepped aside, but the golf team's still performing well. The young lady's got a big victory yesterday down in a triangle match, I think. So, anyway.
So we'll visit with that coming up in the next couple of weeks, too, as we'll talk those other sports besides football. So join us for the Sports Couch again next Saturday morning at 8:30 here on the Vine and on AreaSports.net. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care and be prepared for the eclipse on Monday. So long.
This is your home for best Christian music.
WVYN, Blueford, Wayne City, Fairfield, Mount Vernon.
And now on Translator, W288CO Centralia, broadcasting at 105.5.
A service of Real Life Radio Foundation.
The best Christian music.